we're live.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the third of our Big Body Stories live streamed. My name is Phil Porter. I'm one of the founders of InterPlay, and Randy Newswanger and I have been leading Big Body Story classes really pretty much since the pandemic began. And we decided to do some of these live on YouTube. We're so grateful for Maryellen.
Introduce myself.
Yeah, we're getting feedback from your...
I'm Karen Hatch from Virginia.
I'm Marianne Paul from Seattle.
Cassandra Sagan, Portland, Oregon, Multnomah Tualatin Land.
Teresa Cunningham, Rockville, Maryland.
I'm Randy Newswanger in Pennsylvania.
Okay, we're getting... Okay. Well, I'll just keep going. The Big Body Story is a form that we use in InterPlay. InterPlay is an active, creative way to access the wisdom of the body. Big Body Stories give us the possibility of including movement, story, and sound in our stories. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Each of us will be telling a 5-minute story. Hold on just a second. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry, everyone. I'm still getting that in mind. So I'm going to switch earphones. See what happens. Okay, can you hear me? Oh, right. Sorry about that. I was getting the live stream in my ear a few minutes later, so it was really hard to talk and do that. So everybody take a deep breath and let it out. Give your body a little shake. We do this a lot, shaking out our voice in our bodies. So those of you who are watching on YouTube, you can also actually take part in the YouTube chat if you're subscribed to our channel. And what we're going to be doing is after each story, those of us in the group will be just putting a few words or phrases in the chat box in response to the story, something we heard that struck us or just a word that popped out or anything like that. And you can do that as well. And after we've had a little chance to put those notes in the chat box, we'll read them out. And then Maryellen will come on and read a few of the chats from the chat box on the YouTube chat box. So if you want to take part in that way, that's fine. If you also want to say hello and tell us who you are, that's always fun too. But we're glad that you're with us. And if there's nothing else, I think we got ourselves all introduced. And we're going to go in this order. It's going to be Randy, Karen, Marianne, Cassandra, me, and Teresa. So Randy, you're up first.
Great. So take a deep breath. Unexpected things that it was cold this morning. It was cold this morning, so after I took a shower and I stepped outside, I put on a hat. And my hair's been like flat all day because it's cold and I wore a hat and I wasn't expecting to look like this on Zoom, but all day long on Zoom my hair's been flat because it was cold this morning. I figured out just a couple of weeks ago that when the temperature is 54 degrees Fahrenheit and then I go outside and I'm outside for a while, it really hurts. That's 54 degrees is the temperature when my ears get cold and my head gets cold, which is why I wore a hat today. but I've been making up for it by eating chocolate chips out of the cupboard. Now, I don't know why it took me well into my 40s or maybe even 50 years old to realize that when there are chocolate chips in the cupboard that I'm saving just for chocolate chip cookies, that I don't have to save them just for chocolate chip cookies. I can open up the bag of chocolate chips and I can eat them plain without even being in a cookie. I don't know why it took me so long to figure that out. But actually, my chocolate chips are not in the cupboard. My chocolate chips are in the freezer because cold chocolate looks a lot. And every time I take a few chocolate chips and I pull them out of the freezer and I bite one, I think this is so good. And my dentist might need a phone call. Oh, frozen chocolate chips. The cold this morning was a surprise. Realizing I could eat chocolate chips out of the cupboard or the freezer was a surprise. And the other surprise for fall in Pennsylvania is that my crocuses just came up. My crocuses just came up. That might be a surprise to you too, but it's not ordinary crocuses that come up in the spring, in the sun, in the snow. It's the saffron crocuses. The saffron crocuses that grow in Afghanistan and they grow in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. And just earlier this week, I saw the little leaves starting to push up, which means in a week or so, the flowers will come out of the ground and go, boom, such a surprise. And in theory, I could pick that saffron from the little in each little flower and pull it out and dry it, and then I could use saffron in my cooking. And I tried that the first year, and then you know what? I had saffron in my cupboard all winter long after I picked it, and I never remembered to put it into something. It's sort of like all of those years that I forgot that you could just eat chocolate chips if you're in your cupboard. Like, I have stuff in my cupboard. Oh, if you were here for a previous story, you might have heard about all the stuff from my cupboards. Cupboards are just a problem. If I were in control of the world, I would make clear fronts on all of my cupboards with an automated, updated list of everything that's there and a reminder to my phone to tell me to eat it. But I don't need that reminder. I don't need that reminder for the chocolate chips because I just get them out and eat them whenever I want.
And take a deep breath and let it out. So those of us who are witnessing the stories are going to just put a word or two or three in the chat box. And if you're watching on YouTube, feel free to put that in the chat box if you're subscribed to the channel.
And I'll read a few of these comments here, and then in a little bit, Maryellen will read some from the YouTube channel. Frozen chocolate chips. Gotta try that. Love the enthusiastic delight in the details and the way your stories always reconnect. Chili chocolate chips. Cabinet reminders. Eat it all. You are never flat, Randy. That's Stanley. Cold chocolate chips and crocuses, yum. Temptation in your cupboard and in your freezer. Maryellen, there are some comments there.
Eileen said she loves the big crescendos in your story and cupboards of chocolate chips. Yes, the good life. Mesopotamia says, I love chocolate chips from the freezer. Krista says, hi, from Krista from Seattle. Creative interweaving of 3 different elements. And there's probably more coming, just a lag. So
Thank you. Thank you, Randy, for that story.
Thank you.
Karen, you're up.
It took me 2 hours to get ready to come here tonight. I had to shave my legs and pull up my Spanx just right. Peel off a peel and put on 3 fine creams. Go through my closet to define some guy's sex dream. How'd I do? How'd I do? We're brainwashed and bamboozled. So my biggest body, that's my song, published in 2016, right before the orange one was elected. Anyway, that's a different story. So my story is about ageism. I was going to the mall. I live in the country, so I went to the mall, and it's like a big adventure because I hardly ever go to the mall. And I think I probably kind of look like this. And somebody said, there's one. Go get her. So this younger, attractive person came up and said, oh, please, may I show you how you can get rid of some of those lines just like that? And I said, sure, okay. So I sat down in the chair and this younger person made some small talk and she put the stuff on. And then she finished and she said, now look. See how normal you look? I said, that is a microaggression. Well, the owner of the store, she didn't even know what a microaggression was, but the owner of the store gave me some hand cream to make up for her microaggression. Now, did you know, I didn't know, these words, ageism. Ageism only refers to old people from what some source told me. But I thought, you can practice ageism whether you're talking about a 2-year-old, a 17-year-old, or a 95-year-old. No, if you're talking about a younger person, that's a completely different term. That is adulting. Why do we need so many friggin' words? Okay, this is a medley of sorts. My brother-in-law, his name is James. He has an intellectual disability, and he lived with us for many years. And every time I did something wrong, he would say, you're old and forgetful. You're old and forgetful. I said, James, why not say something nice? Like say, Karen, you're beautiful. And so he stopped saying, you're old and forgetful, and he told me I was beautiful 2 times a day. And after about 2 years, I got really tired of it, and I said, James, you don't have to say that anymore. He never, ever said it again. But, okay, I almost ran into this guy at the dump the other day, and he hopped out of his car, and he said, were you scared? I said, yes, I was scared. He said, you're beautiful. I said, oh, Ricardo, because he had his name on his shirt. That was so funny. So, I know I'm running out of time, so I'm trying to be picky. So, beauty. Oh, my grandmother used to tell me, like, Karen, you shouldn't wear that dress. You're too old to be wearing a dress like that. And my sisters, they do the same thing. they have been indoctrinated. We've all been indoctrinated. So, beauty. Just what is it? I met the most beautiful women the other day. One was 15, one was about 50, and one was about 75. They were all so beautiful. I'm going to say, you know, I'm beautiful. And if you see Vlad, the guy at the kiosk, you tell him I'm 63 and a half and I am amazing. No thanks to him.
And take a deep breath and let it out. And we'll put some notes in the chat box and invite everyone watching on YouTube to do the same. Karen, do you want to read your comments?
Sure. Your heart is beautiful. Loved your song. Beautiful song, story and spirit. Wrinkles and cream and beauty at any age. So playful, so much fun, so radical. Shout out to Adrienne Marie Brown and Sonia Renee Taylor. I give myself radical permission. That's me.
Thank you, Karen, for that story. Oh, and we'll have some comments from YouTube if we have any.
Yeah. Eileen says she put the stuff on and you got a microaggression and hand cream. What? Krista says a delightful meander to witness. Eileen says, yes, you are amazing just the way you are.
Thank you. Okay, Cassandra. Oh, I'm sorry, Marianne, you're up next.
Larry and I love, love, love his mom. And we hadn't seen her since before the pandemic. And we felt it was time sensitive for us to go and visit because she's 96. Larry's doctor instructed us to get really good masks and to put them on before we walked into the airport in Seattle and not to take them off until we walked out of the airport in Chicago. We had such a wonderful time in Chicago in so many different ways. And we came home. And a few days after we got home, Larry started feeling a little funky. And he took a test. And he was positive for COVID. I wondered to myself, was it when that TSA agent said to take down our masks? My internal authority was saying, no. But you don't argue with the TSA agent when you want to go see your mom. But Larry, 5 days later, he tested negative. So, and I had gone to great lengths to keep my distance from him. And when he would walk in the room, I would run out of the room. And I was wearing a mask in my house. And I thought I had dodged the bullet when he tested negative. And I tested too, and I was negative. And there was such jubilation in our house. I could suddenly hug him, and we could hold hands like we do before we eat our meals. We always hold hands. And it was just, I had dodged the bullet, and I was so happy. The next weekend, we went to my daughter's houseboat because they were going up to Canada. And we were having a lake. And on Saturday morning, we took our German Shepherd and we took a walk and we meandered through all these neighborhoods. And we came back, we had breakfast, we shared a latte. And a little while later, Larry said, I'm getting my symptoms back. So we packed up. I mean, you can't really distance when you're on a houseboat. Plus, we didn't really want to leave his COVID germs for my daughter and her husband. So we went home, and I began to shun my husband again because I really, really didn't want to get COVID. He had it for many days, and I kept testing, and I was negative, and he was positive. And on one day, I took my other daughter, to the swimming pool so she could do her PT exercises. And it was warm, and I had the seat heater on my back, which made my back feel really good. And I'm thinking life is good, and I'm reading my book. And all of the sudden, I was slammed. With fatigue. And I realized I had not dodged the bullet.
And take a deep breath. And let it out. And we'll put some notes in the chat box. Randy, you may be sending directly to me. I'm not sure. Marianne, do you want to read your comments?
Sure. Love the image of the two of you holding hands before your meal. I love the variety of pacing and vocal quality. My favorite part, holding hands before meals. Sometimes you just can't get away with anything. Love imagining you and Larry on the plane in Chicago on the houseboat, holding hands. I love the affection between you, him, and his mother.
It's great. And Maryellen, do we have some comments from YouTube?
Yeah. YouTube, Mesopotamia says, holding hands before dinner. I said, so many sweet moments with your family. Krista says, shunning the man you love so much. Eileen says, oh, the joy of one hand dance. Great beginning. Thank you. Love the insertion of movement and song and exaggeration. The pauses. So powerfully engaging and crafted.
Thank you. Thank you for your story, Marianne. Cassandra, you're next.
So this story begins with a cup of tea. I'm in my pajamas. It's early evening, it's dark. I just had a massage from my old friend who knows every nook and cranny that needs attention, and I am and all of a sudden my dog starts barking like all hell is breaking loose. And I look out the front door, and these two white, unmarked, no window, weird shaped vans have pulled up in front of my house, and several men come out of the vans. And all of a sudden, all my ancestral wounds start vibrating. And I close the door and I lock the door, and I decide if somebody comes to my door, if somebody knocks on my door, rings my doorbell, I am not going to answer it. I sit back down with my tea, but I'm a little shaken. And then the door starts, someone's knocking at the door and ringing the bell, the dogs scream barking. And I'm trying to keep myself calm. And eventually they go away. I peek out the window to see if the vans are there. The vans are still there for a long time. So I write to my everyone on my block, our little email list. I said, hey, anybody know what's going on with these white unmarked vans on the street? And they just knocked at my door. What's going on? Eventually, my neighbor wrote back and said, yeah, it's the nighttime water crew, and they're looking for plumbing lines. They were very nice. And I thought that was very weird. Why wouldn't the nighttime water crew know where the plumbing lines are? So you've probably heard, they keep saying on all the news now, like, anti-Semitism is on the rise, like as if somebody put yeast in it, or as if it hadn't been there before, but that's not the case. Like all racisms and phobias and dehumanizations on the rise just means it's blatant, it's out. More and more people feel like they have permission to express what was always inside of them. And so this previously kind of, bottled up energy is all of a sudden everybody's getting a contact. Hi, oh, you are anti-Semitic? I'm anti-Semitic too. And it just keeps going like that. But we can change the things that we cannot accept. So I have rehearsed for years what I would do if I was in an active shooter situation. I would go and find the youngest person and lay my body on them. But I've never rehearsed what I would actually do if the Nazis, if the white supremacists, if the militias came to my door, because I'm a very public Jew. And as that fear connects me to the ancestral wounds, I feel that, that lit up connection, that electricity, that underground root system. And I feel also my ancestors and their strength and their courage and their wisdom and their goodness and their they're inside that trembling, it connects me to that current. And they're all holding hands, and they're holding hands with all of your ancestors too. Everyone who has experienced depression, they're all there. And this is my prayer, and this is my hope for myself, for all of us, that when we find ourselves in the most terrifying and difficult situation, that we let that fear and trembling connect us to the strength of the ancestors, the connection, the light, the roots, the vibrations, so we can find some way to be safe and calm and as put together as Nancy Pelosi in the middle of a really scary situation. I bless everyone to have that happen from here on in. If that ever happens, should happen, I hope it doesn't, but that would be my prayer.
Take a deep breath. And we'll put some notes in the chat box. Would you like to read the comments, Cassandra?
Sure. They're all holding hands. Hope for all of us. Powerful, vulnerable truth. Yes. Let the trembling connect us. I love the energy in your hands, your voice, and your story. Such a beautiful sharing from the depths of you and your ancestors. You took me right to the place where we're all holding hands. Love the magic of your beginning with the contrast of your serious story. Thank you all.
And Maryellen, do we have some comments?
Mesopotamia says, I love how you unpacked intergenerational trauma response in seeing the white unmarked vans. I also rehearse active shooter scenarios, connecting with strangers in danger and shared hope. Krista says, letting fear and trembling connect us. Eileen says, so mesmerized by the articulation in your hands, the movements so encapsulating. The doctor says, thank you for the beauty of your hands flowing and the up and down of your hands as an ongoing grounding through your story. I felt that dance of Tikkun Olam.
Good. Thank you for your story, Cassandra. Okay, I think I'm up next. You know those white boxes that take out? You often get in takeout at Chinese places, and now some other places too. And they're that interesting little shape with a kind of side that goes like this, and then it's a little fold on the side and the top, and there's that little tab, and it fits in the slot, and you just open it up, and there's the rice. You know, I read somewhere, I heard somewhere, and I have no reason not to believe this, but I've only heard it once. So you would think that if this were true, that I would have learned it a long time ago. But there's so many things that are true that I'm only learning now at my age. But we're not going to talk about ageism because Karen already covered all that territory. What we're going to talk about is the fact that, here's what I heard, is I heard that those boxes are actually designed so that you can just unattach them and flatten them out and just eat the food right from the box, from the opened up box, not, scooping into it like the way we often do, or putting it on it, but just you're flattened and you do that thing and it just flattens out. That's what I heard that. I don't know if it's true. Maybe you could tell me whether you think it's true or not, but it makes sense to me. It makes sense to me that this is, and this, and there are just some people who think like that. There's some people who think like that, I'm fast. I've done a bunch of weird things in my artistic life. I just have to say, I've done some weird things. Like the time I made one tentacle of an octopus, and I took, some of those rubber things you put the soap in by the dish, and it's got those little suction things, and I cut off all the suction things, and I stuck them on the arm, and I painted the whole thing. I've done stuff like that. And then that time when I was doing a display, I used to do display design at a store in Berkeley, and we were showing these sets of tools that you use for dissection tools. This was what I was supposed to display. So what I did was I made a lobster out of just cut and folded paper, just kind of layers. You can just kind of imagine the layers, and the little claws and the whole thing. And then I just arranged those. So I've done some weird things. So that won't, now that I've told you that, you won't be surprised to hear that I'm fascinated by the way that boxes are constructed. You know how it is when you take the box and you pull it apart and you can see how they've taken a one piece of cardboard or something. They figured out where the sides are, where the overlaps are. They've sometimes figured out where the tabs are, where you fit it together, where you don't have to glue anything, although they mostly glue things these days. So I've just been fascinated by that. And I just have to confess that I've made some of those. I've engineered and I confess that I've done that, where I've designed, a little blah, 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 blah. So one year in my design firm, we decided to give pumpkin muffins to some of our clients. And so I constructed these little gold boxes, kind of whoop, 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 whoop. And on the back there were these stars, and the box was all cut out of one piece of paper and folded without any, just the tabs. Just tabs. No staples, no glue, just tabs and slots. This is the secret to the box, even though those takeout boxes don't have tabs and slots. Well, they do on the top, but not on the sides. But tabs and slots, I just confess that I've done that kind of stuff. So this is, let me tell you why this is coming up for me. Why this is a story from like right now. This is like a right now story. It's kind of like a middle year story, but it's also kind of a right now story because just this last weekend, I took a polymer clay class in how to make a curved box out of polymer clay. And part of that is that you have this little pattern you cut out and you fold it up, and then you put the clay on the top of it. And someone, these very talented teachers that I was studying with had figured out the shape of that. And it was very cool to put all that together and make the box. And I'm in the middle, I'm still working on it. It was like, got a lot to do, but it's happening. And I want to make another one, but I don't want to make that one. I want to make my own. And part of the reason this is coming up because my house is a mess. And sitting here on the sofa, you can't see the mess in my living room. You think, oh, doesn't that look tasteful? But you can't see the floor and what's spread out on the floor. You don't want to see it either. But sitting right next to me on the sofa is the pattern for a kind of a curvy box thing. And, I'm trying to figure out how, I can make this kind of curvy box thing. And, it's going to take some work and some masking tape or something. And I don't know. And like right now, it just looks like, well, I don't even want to imagine what that looks like. But it's going to eventually be a polymer clay box with a really weirdly patterned outside. That's it. Take a deep breath. and let it out. Y'all can put some notes in the chat box. And the YouTubers, you can do the same. So weird, 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 and all of it fun, including dissection tools. The puppy-like falling all over yourself with enthusiasm, so contagious, makes me want to interrupt myself. Only you could create a fascinating story about food storage containers. Love the dissertation of the kitchen thing for your octopus. Your home is very well appointed, I'd say. I enjoyed your exploration of the curved box and the quick pacing. Oh, the pacing. Who needs dishes? Maryellen, do we have some comments from YouTube?
Yes, we do. Eileen says, Phil the box engineer. Wow. Love the musings of such an innovative mind. Mesopotamia says dancers, choreographers make the best third art arrangement makers, furniture assemblers, and creative prop engineers. Harmony in form and function. Anne says, I'm glad you showed us the template because I thought that a curved box was an oxymoron. Arlene says, yes, from where I'm from, we play with folding banana leaves into 3D containers and they do flatten out.
Mm.
Krista says, delightfully quirky creativity in both story content and form.
Mm. Thank you all for witnessing that story.
Thank you, Phil.
And Teresa, you're up.
When I think of home, I think of a place where there's love overflowing. I just moved yesterday, and my house is full of boxes. It's full of boxes, small boxes, medium boxes, large boxes, extra large boxes. And I feel like I'm drowning in boxes. But I know that as I slowly unpack and as I discover the things that I carefully packaged in bubble wrap or packaged in packing paper or threw into the box because it's getting close to the time to move and I just gotta go, it's the time to go, I'll get through it when I get there. I'm going through all the boxes now. And there's so much stuff. How did I get so much stuff? How do we get so much stuff? You never know what stuff you have until it comes time to move and you're packing everything up. And you just find, I found a can of food that expired in 2017. And I'm trying to figure out how I had that just sitting in my cabinet, thinking one day I was gonna crave chickpeas. One day I was gonna have that craving for chickpeas. And I'm glad I never did have that craving because that can expired in 2017 and that would not have been good at all. Not at all. So I live in a house now for the first time in a long time. I've been in apartments the vast majority of my adult life. And now I'm in a house. And there's space between me and my neighbors. And I can sing and not have to worry about doing it before a certain hour because I'm going to interrupt someone, I'm going to disturb somebody else. But I'm also concerned about other things like trick-or-treaters. I mean, it's been a long time since I've had to deal with trick-or-treaters. I've lived in apartments, and even in the apartment complexes, there weren't a lot of kids for some reason. I just haven't lived in apartment complexes with a lot of kids. And now I'm in a neighborhood with families, and I see them walking their dogs and families walking around, and I just know I'm going to get some trick-or-treaters this year. And how much candy is the right amount of candy to get so that I don't have too much left over, so that I'm not left eating up all the leftover candy, which I'm destined to do if I have a whole lot of leftover candy. So what is just the right amount, and what is the right size? I hear, you don't want to get the king size bars. You don't want to get too small. You don't want to give out too few. So much to learn, so much to figure out. I'm also just really, really glad that my mom knew where she was when she woke up this morning. She deals with dementia, and I was so scared about being in a new space. And so I left the light on so that she wouldn't be in the dark, and I had it on all night. And as soon as I saw the light outside, I got up and I went and checked on her to make sure that she knew where she was and that she was comfortable. And I'm just grateful for that, because new places are hard. It was hard for me waking up in a new space. Even though I was in my old bed, it was still a new room. And it was hard for me. So I can only imagine for someone who struggles with remembering what day it is, remembering the activities, what to do next, how hard that may be to wake up in a strange place. So I'm looking forward to making my house into a home full of love and care and touches and art and me, so that I'll look around and I'll see touches of me and touches of my family and touches of love and sprinkles and glitter and sunshine. I'm already starting to feel more comfortable here. Now, as soon as my piano gets delivered, then I'll truly feel at home.
And take a deep breath and let it out. And we'll put some notes in the chat box. Mm-hmm. Would you like to read the comments, Teresa?
Sure. A new place for you and your mom. Yay. And space to sing. Yay. Love and glitter. Touches of you and touches of home. And so much stuff, including leftover Halloween candy. I cannot believe you signed up for this the day after moving. Love all the musings about home and your loving concern for your mom. Dementia has some blessings. How grand, a piano. Congratulations, Teresa. Now that you have a house, you have room for way more stuff. So tender, your care of your mom. I'm glad she woke up feeling okay. Lucky mom is going to get to hear you sing. If you are drowning in boxes, perhaps give them to Phil. Everyone's going to want to come to your house. Trick-or-treating.
Thank you for your story, Teresa.
Maryellen, do you have some words?
Yeah. The doctor says, thank you for that puzzled but gently fascinated walk through trick-or-treating etiquette. Krista says, space to sing, sprinkles of love and sunshine, such love for your mother. Mesopotamia says, sing the rest of that song from The Wiz, your voice is so pretty. Anne says, the dilemma of the perfect size candy bar.
Thank you again. Thanks for all those stories, folks. And thanks to all of you who came to witness today. We're glad that you were here. If you want to put any last comments in the chat box, feel free to do that. We are doing another one of these, our last one, next week. Maryellen, could you give the date and time for that?
It's this Monday, October 24th at 2:35 Pacific and 5:35 Eastern.
Thank you. Next week is also International Week of InterPlay. So there are a whole series of free classes and events that are happening beginning on the weekend and going through the following weekend. So you might want to check that out on the interplay.org website. So again, thanks for all of you for coming, and we hope to see you again.